Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who want to build million-dollar businesses without sacrificing their health, relationships, or happiness, who understand that in order to build their empire, they need a solid foundation, and that the more they are thriving, the more their business is thriving too. This show brings you the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Garbett, the scientist turned mindset and high performance coach for entrepreneurs, and I help you get wired for success. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that helps you get to the next level of success in your life and business. Today on the show, we have Mario Sierra, founder and CEO of HarmonIQ Biosciences. Mario is pioneering the world's first continuous hormone monitoring platform, a coin-sized wearable device that can track hormones in real time and revolutionize fertility, menopause, men's health, and endocrine care. With a background in biochemistry, medical device research, and scaling startups, Mario is on a mission to make personalized hormone health accessible to everyone. And I really can't wait to hear more about it. So welcome, Mario, and thank you so much for being on the show today.
Hi, Claudia. Thank you so much for that introduction. And yeah, excited to be here and talk about everything entrepreneurship and startups.
And such a cool topic. Now, let's start at the beginning. Can you share why you started your company and what that journey has looked like so far?
Yeah, so you gave a little bit of it in the introduction, but just as a quick recap. So I studied biochemistry and business in undergrad. I was always interested in the business side of science. I was actually on the med school track. I wanted to be a surgeon and started following physicians and seeing what they were doing and what they were up to. Great paycheck, not the best lifestyle. And at the same time, I think at the end of the day, the healthcare system is what's sick. And so doctors play a very crucial role when they see their patients and are able to heal their pain. But I wanted to go a little bit further upstream and kind of heal the system. And the first way that I wanted to approach that was from understanding the system. So I dove into the world of clinical research while I was shadowing doctors and seeing what they were working on. And in the OR, I was like, what's that device? What's that device? How did that all get here? Right. And so I was exposed to the world of clinical research. So everything that ends up in the patient's body that we're using in the OR, from drugs to devices, they go through a validation process, obviously. Right. So got exposed to the world of clinical research, dove in head first, ran some class 2 and class 3 medical device studies with neurosurgeons. So got to be in the OR, got to see patients, enroll patients in trials, follow them for the period of time that we did, and really got to experience almost what it was like to be a doctor, but without having the MD behind me. And then parlay that experience into a consumer wearables company, Whoop. It's a Boston-based company. And then most recently, I was at a software company in the clinical trial space where we digitized a protocol and created a workflow tool out of it. So yeah, these have all been startups, very small companies, and we've scaled them from basically nothing to some large businesses.
That's amazing. And I love that you took it to the next strategic step where you look at like the higher level and you want to change the system instead of just, working in the system, which is really, really cool. Now, what does hormonal health look like for men and women, and why should people care?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, I find myself going further upstream now. So I got to test the products that biotech companies were creating, and now I am the biotech company. So we're creating a device to measure hormones continuously, like you mentioned. Hormone health today, it looks like very static measurements. So whether it's testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, any of the hormones out there, they're very much static tests, whether that be a blood test that you get from your doctor and you go to, here in the US, it's a Quest or a LabCorp where you get your blood test done. Or there's also at-home testing, which is readily accessible, but they have the same problem. They're point in time. So those are typically a Dutch test, which is a urine test, or a saliva test, where you can test your hormones. But yeah, again, at the end of the day, these are all point in time measurements. And so our biggest differentiator is that we're creating a device to measure hormones continuously, very much like the glucose monitors and how they revolutionized diabetes care. We're wanting to do the same thing in hormones. So we're starting in fertility for women's health, optimizing cycles and timing of ovulation, and then expanding into other health indications.
Oh, that's really cool. So you have different devices for men and women, or how does it work?
Yeah, so it's going to be the same device. It's a coin-sized wearable device. It uses microneedles to measure the interstitial fluid. We want to pack this device with as many hormones as possible. I think that's where it becomes even more valuable.
Wow.
Yeah, we're targeting 6 hormones on the same device, which is ambitious, but I think we can do it.
Oh, that's really cool. So which hormones are we talking? I want to
Yeah,
have
so
the details.
the panel of 6 are estrogen, testosterone, cortisol, LH, FSH, and progesterone.
Wow. Okay, so that's really for fertility. And you said other applications as well. Would you target different hormones then?
Potentially, yes. So I think with how I laid it out there, so testosterone unlocks men's health in and of itself, right? And then cortisol is more of the longevity wellness side of things. And cortisol also affects your hormone dynamics in general. If you're in a very high stress situation, your other hormones don't fluctuate like they normally do, right? So those 3 unlock multiple markets for us. A 7th one that I left off that we could potentially include is TSH, which would be for thyroid, right? Thyroid stimulating hormone. So there's lots of autoimmune conditions, and patients have to manage their thyroid with a specific pill, but it has to get titrated. And it's like a one size meets all, or one dose meets all patients, right? So we're looking to optimize that if we were to include TSH as well.
Oh, that's super interesting. Now, what's a common misconception people have about hormonal health?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the common misconceptions is it's a one size fits all. So whenever you go to the doctor, they're giving you a base prescription, and it's not really tailored to your personal hormones. There's not a lot of testing that goes into it ahead of time. It's kind of like throw spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks, right? So they'll take this large approach and try multiple different modalities and try and see what works for their patient. So yeah, again, we're looking to fill in that data gap and use this device as a companion for physicians, so that as they're giving their patients their hormone therapy, they can see very quickly if they're responding, and if they need to titrate doses, they can do that in real time.
That's so much better, because you have actually data that you can use to, as you said, to tweak the system and the treatment. Yeah. Now, we often hear that hormone health has really been steadily declining over the last few decades, even, I'd say. What do you think are the main causes for this?
Ooh, that's great. Putting my physician hat on, even if I'm not a physician. We hear things like endocrine disruptors, right? Like soy products, microplastics, things that, like, they say that there's a credit card worth of plastic circulating in your system now, right? So crazy. I think a lot of those things. I think in your environment, like fragrances, right? Perfumes, those are known to be endocrine disruptors. So we're actually building some of this into our platform as well. So on the patient app, you can track your nutrition, you can track your sleep, and you can track your exercise. And I was just recommended by a friend to add in basically like a barcode scanner, so you can scan the products that you're using as well, right? So whether it's your perfume, your deodorant, your detergent, and track that in there as well. So you can possibly see how that could affect your hormone dynamics. I think that's very cutting edge research. Like, we don't have this data set, we don't have this knowledge, especially with real-time longitudinal data. So it'd be very interesting to learn from what we're creating.
Oh, that's really cool. I love the idea. And maybe what about something like HRV tracking or something, to just see how the system reacts in general? Wouldn't that be interesting too?
Yeah, PPG sensing is great. I want to include multi-omics data into our platform as well, whether that be genetics, microbiome, right? Like, let's try and get as much data as possible and mine that data. That's something that goes back to my experience at Whoop. So I started, clinical research is very specific, right? Find me 200 of this very specific patient that meet all these criteria and eliminate everyone else. The consumer wearable side of things is the opposite. They'll find me 10,000 patients, put the device on them, and then we'll figure it out from a large data approach. So I have both of those kind of modalities or mentalities in one person. So I want to take both approaches. I'm going to be very clinical and have a very specific use case for what we're doing, and very a lot of clinical utility out of the box. But I also want to take a large data approach and put as much data into these algorithms that we're working with to uncover insights and You can talk about digital biomarkers. You can talk about phenotypes. You can talk about all these different characteristics that we could pull out of our data set.
Yeah, that sounds like a great strategy. What are some of the early warning signs that people should be aware of, just to explain when the hormone system is out of whack, maybe? So what are they looking for if they're not continuously monitoring their hormone levels?
Yeah, on the female health side of things, some things I often hear. So when you're approaching the ages for menopause, so around age 40, right? There's things like night sweats, fatigue, brain fog, right? Those are some of the things that you often hear. There's actually some interesting research as well that divorces are initiated around the age of menopause. That could potentially be due to hormone health. On the male side of things, fatigue is a very common thing. Low testosterone, low libido, low energy, right? Those are common things you hear on the men's health side of things. And then cortisol is probably the most, acute. So burnout, right? So what is it called? Like panic attacks, things like that. Those are typically associated with high cortisol.
Now, we know that sleep and stress and exercise and diet, that they all influence hormones, right? So which factor do you think is the most underestimated in terms of effects on the hormone system?
Great question. I would definitely point to either sleep or exercise. I feel like those two would influence the most. I think, with exercise, you're priming your body, you're getting your body kind of going, and your hormones would fluctuate off of that. And then obviously poor sleep leads to so many downstream effects. So I can only imagine that it also affects your hormones.
Yeah, that would be really cool, because exercise, especially weightlifting and stuff like that, those strength exercise has a huge influence on testosterone, right? So
yeah, there's Brian Johnson is obviously a big influencer in this space. He actually put out a paper recently about sauna and sperm health, right? That protecting your male parts during a sauna exercise could actually increase your sperm motility and mobility, right? So there's tons of data. There's tons of interesting insights that we could learn.
So cool. Now, as you said, hormones, they fluctuate constantly, and most lab tests just capture that single snapshot. So how do you think that continuous monitoring will change the way we understand our biology?
Yeah, so with the physicians that we've spoken to, they have mentioned, and to be frank, we don't need hormone data every 5 minutes like glucose monitors, but more regular testing is an advantage. So the way that physicians would use it is, so they're putting their patient on hormone therapy, and then they're having to wait until that patient comes back in to do another blood test, to talk with the patient and see how they're responding. So our device is able to be worn painlessly and without any burden on the patient, right? So that's another thing that the at-home tests have, is all the burden is on the patient. The patient has to interact with the device. They have to, scan it with their phone or do all these different things to upload their data. So our device is completely passive, and physicians would use it. They could remotely monitor their patient, and they could see how they're responding in real time to the intervention that they're making, and they can personalize their treatment. So an example, IVF is an obvious use case for us as well. So when the patient is there in the clinic with the physician, they can pull up the dashboard, see how their hormones are acting in real time with historical data, and then make a better clinical decision at that point to optimize their treatment.
I love that. Is your device available, or in which countries is it available at the moment?
Yes. So in terms of development, so we are working on our MVP, our minimum viable product at this point. So we're an early stage company. We're a pre-seed stage company. We're actually fundraising at this moment. So if there are any investors listening to this conversation, I'd love to entertain a conversation with you. Yeah, we're actively raising a pre-seed round so we can continue our development.
Awesome. It definitely sounds like that would be a good investment.
Yeah.
So what are in general your best tips for hormone optimization for men and women? So I guess you have run some tests with your device. You have probably some insights that you can share.
Yeah, actually, not a ton in terms of recommendations for hormone optimization. I mean, I would refer people to speak with their physicians. I mean, you have to do some lab testing ahead of time to understand where you are, and then you can take that to your physician, and they'll have some tailored recommendations for you.
Okay, that was a safe choice answer, but okay, I'll take it. What does your personal stack of high performance habits look like? So can you share what you do in terms of diet, exercise, relaxation, or any other biohacks you might be using?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm big into the biohacking space. I use a lot of wearables. I use Aura for sleep. I'm not wearing it right now, but I typically use my Whoop as well. That's also for sleep. So I don't think any of our wearables are 100% accurate at this point, right? So I kind of use both of them as a calibration with each other, using my Whoop during exercise as well. So for me, I'm big into HIIT workouts, high intensity interval training. So that's with some weights and getting your cardio, like zone 2, zone 3 training. And then I also do jujitsu, which is a martial arts, right? So that's a good pastime of mine. I'm a brown belt in jujitsu. In terms of supplements, I try and stack as many as I can. Let's see, what do I have right here? I've got my magnesium supplements, a super EPA. I've got some probiotics that I use, vitamin D3. I think that's a very low hanging fruit one that everybody could use is vitamin D. We spend a lot of time indoors, and your body naturally makes vitamin D3 when you're in the sun. But because we spend so much time indoors, most people are deficient. That was actually a big learning from COVID, is that one of the biggest corollaries was low vitamin D to exacerbated outcomes from COVID.
So do you have the D3 in combination with K2?
Yes, your little droplets. Yeah. Yeah. And then, and let's see what else. Creatine, that's actually one that I've been experimenting a little bit more with. I've actually been doing more high dosing of creatine, like 25 milligrams. Yeah. And it gives you a boost of energy without the crash. So this is something that I've been experimenting with very recently. And then what's another one? What is it? Methylene blue. That's one that I've experimented. Yes. Yeah. For detox and mitochondrial function. And it's a interesting one.
So did you find that did it change anything noticeably? So what was the effect like?
Yeah, I didn't notice anything specifically from that one. I've actually noticed more from the creatine, like the whole I don't know, mental boost. It's almost like you're caffeinated, right? And then again, you don't get the crash. So that's been one that I've liked a lot.
Yeah, I haven't tried the methylene blue yet. It's a weird one.
Yeah.
What inspired you to become an entrepreneur in the first place? I mean, you said you always enjoyed the business side of things, but have you always had that entrepreneurial mindset, or was that something that you had to acquire along the way?
Yeah, I think growing up, so I had a good example with my parents. My parents were entrepreneurs. My dad was a business owner. He was he's a mechanical engineer and more in the CNC machining space. But I saw that they ran their business and the kind of lifestyle that it afforded them. They were very independent, and then got to work on things that they were passionate about. So I always wanted to find that thing for me. I was definitely very much oriented to the health side of things, like we mentioned, wanted to be a doctor and whatnot. But seeing the opportunities on the business side of things that was more enticing to me. So that's where I wanted to jump in. I didn't really know where to jump in, and I didn't have a lot of skills at the very beginning, obviously. So I spent most of my career, the past 10 years, as an entrepreneur. So building other people's businesses, understanding how they work and how they function. And then I found this venture that I could jump in on my own and decided to take the leap.
That's cool. Now, from what you've shared, it's clear that you are driven both by curiosity and also by impact. So let's talk about what that looks like in the trenches. What's the hardest part of growing your business right now?
Yeah, great question. I think the hardest part of the business, especially the business that I chose, so number one, we're a hardware device, which I'm not an engineer. I'm not a very hardware oriented person. And then second is we're fundraising, right? So fundraising is a new skill for me. So these have been two things that I've had to learn and very rapidly pick up. So I founded the company at the beginning of 2025. Over the past year, I can now confidently say that I speak hardware. So I can talk to engineers, I can talk to design firms, and we're speaking the same language, which is great. And then I'm actively learning on the fundraising side of things, how to talk with investors, what are investors interested in, putting myself in their shoes, and figuring out how to tailor our pitch such that we're painting this very broad picture, but then also showing that we're very focused on specific indications and having impact.
Yeah, that sounds like a tough task for sure. Where do you feel the most friction between scaling your business and also maintaining your own health and sanity?
Yeah, that's a great one as well. Obviously, there's always something that you can be working on in your business. So it's really finding an end point for the day and saying, okay, I've done enough work today. We've made progress, and then being able to disconnect. It's a very challenging thing too, being a remote worker. So I mean, my office is in my home, right? So it's my computer is always right there, and I can always jump back in and continue working. But yeah, I think it's more finding an end time and saying, that's something that I have to tell myself often, that I've done enough today, and I can everything else can wait until tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I guess as entrepreneurs, we tend to be a little bit of a workaholic.
Yeah, and that's where the habits come in, right? Like I want to go get my exercise. I want to go on a walk, spend some time outside, right? Like just being locked inside, locked into my computer is not long term. It's not a long-term strategy, and not something that's good for my own mental health. So yeah, if I want to be performing for the long term, I have to feed myself in other ways.
Yeah, I'm glad you're aware of this problem and you're working on it. Now, if you could fix just one thing instantly in your business to make your life easier, what would it be?
Ooh. Obviously, I think that the easy answer is fundraising, but I'm going to go a different route. So we have a lot of R&D ahead of us. So there's no company that's used our base technology, which are called aptamers, in a biosensor like what we're working on. So if I could fix anything, I would fix our R&D that we have to go through. That's going to be over the next 12 to 18 months. If I could fast forward that till tomorrow and have that whole process figured out, that would be really ideal. Although I have to say I'm very excited about this R&D process and figuring out what's going to work and what's not going to work. I keep telling myself, like, it's like Thomas Edison, right? Like he figured out 1,000 ways to not make a light bulb. So we're on that process right now.
I hope you don't have to figure out 1,000 ways that this does not work. Now, these challenges certainly test both your resilience and also your creativity, right? So what do you do when you're overwhelmed? What's your system for solving problems without losing clarity? Do you have one?
Yeah, I think it comes to reorienting around your goals. So if I'm getting overwhelmed, it's probably because I'm too narrowly focused on the problem. So I've written my goals down. I know where we're going. So again, if I get overwhelmed, I'll try and zoom out and reorient myself to the ultimate end goal, and then see that this is more of a stepping stone in that direction. And so that's a strategy. I've had to use that multiple times, where this is a problem. I don't know how to get through this. But then we always figure out a way. And so, yeah, just zooming out and reorienting that this is the ultimate goal that we have.
That makes sense. Have you experimented with productivity or stress management techniques? And if so, which ones work for you and which ones just don't?
Yeah. I like breathing exercises that can always reorient me if I feel like I'm getting stressed throughout the day. I can take 5 to 10 minutes, go through a breathing exercise, and that grounds me and reorients me and allows me to get back in. Actually, for me too, just closing my eyes for 20 minutes is a really rejuvenating process for me. It can be, I don't know, for me, it can be very taxing just having my eyes open, looking at the computer screen all day long. So if I get some time to just close my eyes and be in darkness for a little while, that rejuvenates me.
The non-sleep deep rest, as Dr. Andrew Huberman puts it, right?
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, finding the right strategies sure is key to achieving big goals. So speaking of big goals, where do you want your company to be in the next 12 to 24 months?
Yes. In the next 12 to 24 months, we're going to have a finalized version of our device that we're taking into clinical trials. So yeah, at the end of those 24 months, we'll have a validated device that we've proven is safe and effective per FDA terminology. And we're going to understand what our device, or how our device compares to blood measurements. Blood measurements are still the gold standard for hormone levels, right? So we're going to have that discovered and understand how we can, what the differential is there again for hormones, so that we can take that to clinicians and they can use that with their patients.
Sounds like a great goal. Best of luck with that. Now, it's definitely clear that you're building more than a product and you're really building a new paradigm for health here. So even visionaries is like yourself, they can benefit from guidance every now and then, right? So who do you go to for advice? Do you have any favorite books? Do you have any favorite gurus that you follow? Any coaches that you work with? Who are you?
Yes, I've surrounded myself with people that are way ahead of me, that have built products, that have exited their companies. So I have advisors from former biotech founders, former VCs. One of my advisors has 38 years in med tech and in vitro diagnostics. So he acts as an advisor and a coach when we're coming across problems. I actually hired a mindset coach at the beginning of last year. That's been very influential and a much needed resource. This coach, I can go to him with some problems and he can mirror back to me if I'm not, basically break my frame of reference, right? So I'm thinking in a very small box, and this coach is able to think outside of that box because they're not stuck in my problems all day long, and help me see around the brick wall that I'm running into.
Yeah, that's great. You always need someone on the outside who can, as you said, just change your frame of reference when you get stuck. That's so important. Now, looking back, what has been your most proud achievement recently?
Great question. My most proud achievement, so in the past year, so there's, like I've mentioned, there's no company that does what we're doing, continuous hormone monitoring. There have been a couple of competitors that have jumped into the ring. And I would say my most proud moment is basically almost not giving up, right? So it was, as companies jump in and there are competitors that are raising multiple millions of dollars, it can kind of take the gas out of the engine, for lack of a better term. And so I'm very proud that I didn't let that happen. I literally have a journal entry that said, as opposed to this being the wind that blows out my candle, this is going to be the spark that ignites the engine, right? And so from that moment, that engine has been purring and we're creating some traction. And at the end of the day, and I've learned this now with perspective, right? Like any industry has room for incumbents, right? Like every industry, from wearables to specific drug categories, like there are multiple competitors in each of these spaces. So we have opportunity to take market share.
Yeah, and competition can make your product better. So
yeah, and it was actually a validation signal as well. So as opposed to me having to convince investors that this is a problem, I can point to competitors and say, look, there are other companies that are in this space. So this is obviously a problem worth tackling. And I've actually learned on the investor side of things, investors, they kind of have FOMO around this. Like they want to pick a horse in the race. And so we're one of those horses in the race, and they can bet on us or they can bet on one of the competitors. But investors always want exposure to markets. And so they have a couple of options.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners today?
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the entrepreneurial journey, I think surrounding yourself with other founders, of building a community, it's a very lonely journey. And so having people that are building alongside you, and especially people that are not in your specific vertical, is very helpful. A lot of the times startups have the same issues. So even building alongside of each other, you can strategize and solve the same problem, but in different industries. So I find that to be very helpful. So yeah, just build your community and find your people. And there's lots of people out there that want to support founders and entrepreneurs, and we need innovation. And so continue building.
Yeah, collaboration over competition anytime, right? So last but not least, where can our listeners find you online if they would like to connect with you or maybe even fund your business? Who knows?
Yeah, I'm most active on LinkedIn, Mario Sierra, as you see it written here. I'm based in Austin, Texas. So LinkedIn is the best way to find me. I don't know if we can share in some show notes or whatnot, but we can share my email. We have a website and whatnot, but those would be some of the easiest ways to find me.
Fantastic. Mario, thank you so much for talking and for sharing all those tips and insights with us today. This was fun.
Yeah, thank you so much, Claudia.
Keep up the great work. I hope to see more of your business in the future. See you in the news. And well, take care and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Right. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, please take a sec to rate and review my show or share it with a friend. That way you can support the show and help me reach and support other entrepreneurs like yourself as well. If you would like my help to figure out how you can go from overwhelmed and overworked hustler to empowered and confident leader, check out my website at www.wiredforsuccess.solutions and book a free 20-minute strategy session with me. Can't wait to help you get wired for success. Until next time, take care. Bye.